Afternoon troops, so, little something different today. I'm going to be tying a few traces. I need to tie them, so I thought why not put them on camera, give someone out there some hints and tips. We all do them different ways, we all use different materials, so I thought well why not film it and let's see how we go. So without further ado, I'm going to try and do it in real time. So I'm going to be tying some hooks, trebles, to make some traces for pike fishing. I'm also going to try an experimental single hook rig, so hopefully I'll tie one of those as well and see how that goes. I'm going to go out during the week and fish, so as I say, without further ado, let's get tying the rig. I use several different types of traces. Got some new material I'm going to try, which is this E-Socks 40 pound super trace. I use this quite a lot as well. E-Socks super trace, that's brown. The other one's green. I don't know what the difference is like, and I use this a lot. This one's Fox Carbo Flex. Now to me, that's quite supple as well, quite easy, manageable, quite easy to use. So I use that. I've got a load of these I'll be using. To go with my E-Sock Super Trace, I always use my Drennan Slim clips. They're quite good. And normally when you buy the Fox trace wire, you get a load of freebies with them. Who doesn't like a freebie? So let's keep going. Wire cutters to cut your trace with. These are the hooks I'm going to try out. I'm not being paid to say this or anything like that, so it's just that their name's Palatrax and they're grips. And the reason I'm using them is because they've got no barbs at all. So they're completely barbless. So always looking to improve things fish friendly wise. So I thought I'd give them a go. So first things first. Need a bit of trace wire. And it all depends on what baits you're using, what type of fishing, whether you're fishing a river, whether you're fishing flying water, still water, it's all different types. I take a good 12 to 24 inches roughly, probably about 18 inches long I start with. That gets clipped, wire clippers. Nice and easy. The first thing I always do is the bottom trace. So the bottom of the trace is quite simple. You've got treble down there. I double loop it. I don't have to. Some people single loop, some people double loop. I like to double loop. Get it nice and tight. You actually have bundles of wire sticking out. Why waste it? It costs money. Right, and to tighten that up, what I do is should have got all these ready and prepared. Still. What I like to do is I just like to drop a crimp down all the way down to the bottom. What I like to do is slide the crimp all the way down to the bottom, over it, and it's tightened up, and the crimp keeps it tightened up. Don't want it too tight, you want a bit of play there. So it's looped off, the crimp's down there. Now this is where I say don't skimp. I know money can be tight, things are tight, but always use a crimping tool rather than pliers. Because pliers you can damage the crimp. And that goes on there like that. And you just squeeze tight. Don't have to over squeeze, just squeeze tight and it's done. Clip off the excess with your wire cutters. So that's the bottom of your trace. As I say, all neat and tidy. What I like to do is I like to slip down the sleeve, make it all nice and tidy, slip that down over the hook. All the way down to the bottom, and you've got no bits sticking out. Nothing can catch on your net or anything like that. It's all done. Job's a good one. As I said in previous videos, I do like a bit of colour. So what I do, I like a bait flag on my rigs. I've never used these before. They seem quite sharp to the touch. So bait flag goes on one. Then what you do is you take your second treble and you slide that down. And you slide it down to how. Now it all depends on how big your baits you're using. If you know what your baits you're going to be using, you can adjust them to size. Me, I use quite big baits, so that's going to be about there like that. And then what you do is you go down to the bottom of the shank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like tying a hair egg or anything like that. Back through the eye of the hook, and that's down there tight. Again, I like to keep everything tidy, so on goes a hook sleeve. Pull your trace tight. It can be a little bit fiddly sometimes. Sometimes a little bit of spit works wonders. There you go. You have 1, 2. That's your trace. Look, almost done. Let's get all that debris out of the way. Nice one to put little green rubber things on the end so they don't cut yourself. They are quite sharp actually, these hooks. I'm quite impressed with the sharpness of them. So now you want your final bit. So what you have to do is put on your sleeve first. Let that drop down. Next bit is you want to put on your crimp. So you let that just slide down. And then you want your barrel swivel. Now I use barrel swivels. Your barrel swivel is attached just as your bottom treble was. Through the eye. And double loop it so it's back through the eye again. The crimp comes back up. Over the wires. Again, crimping tool, nice firm, one single press down if you can, rather than keep going up and down on it, and that's done as well. Just tidy up the loose bit, don't want that sticking out. There you go, and then that, moisten that up a little bit, excuse me, and just pull it over the barrel swivel, and it'll go halfway up, and then that's locked in place. Everything's neat and tidy. They're a tight fit, and you've got to persevere, push them on. Just makes them look a bit tight. I mean, you don't have to use them. I just think it makes it look a little bit tidier. There you go. One trace for a big bait. Obviously, if I was using small baits, it would be a bit further down, but I use big baits. You've got there. We'll have another bait flag on here. And that is how I tie my trace. I'm going to give them a go, and this time I'm going to use a bit of this darker trace. Now this trace wire, I've even found I can cut with some decent braid scissors. So again, we've got 12 to 18 inches. I don't have to be exact. You know, if I want a shorter one, I'll do a short one. If I want a longer one, I've been known to use 2 foot of the stuff. So when you're dead baiting, the first time you cast in the morning, your frozen bait is really buoyant. And you've got a nice long trace on the rivers, and you've got a bit of flow, that bait will slowly drift down, and it will happily sit on the end of any weed or debris. I've known it to float on the surface, so that's a one snag. So again, once you've got your double loop on, drop your crimp down, this is £40 trace wires. These crimps just about go over them. Be quite precise when you're doing it sometimes. There you go. All the way down. You want a bit of movement there on your trebles. You don't want them rock solid, they're not going to move. Again, crimping tool in the groove, one long hard consistent press. It's going nowhere. Tidy it up, clip off the loose end. hook sleeve comes all the way down. Halfway down the shank of the hook. That keeps that lovely, neat and tidy. As I said before, that's what you're looking for. They're slightly closer together because this one will be for smaller baits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do 6, you can do 7, you can do 4, it doesn't matter. Nice and tight. Pull it tight. It's not going to go anywhere. Once again, rod sleeve goes down. Rod sleeve. Hook sleeve goes down over the top. Hold that tight. Push. And them hooks feel nice and sharp. I'm quite impressed with the sharpness of them. There you go, that's your trace down. Of course we're going to put our bait flags on afterwards. What you do is, when you've got that far, you're doing your end of your trace. Your rig sleeve goes on first. Then you crimp. And then your barrel swivel. Go through the eye once, double loop. Some people use a single loop. I don't see anything wrong with that. When I've been in a rush and it's been -2 or 3 and I needed to make a trace up. It can be quite hard on the bankside sometimes to twiddle about these little things. Freezing cold temperatures, so sometimes I have used a single loop, but I would always prefer to use a double loop. Bring that crimp all the way down. Goes into the groove. One single long hard press. It's not going anywhere. I said earlier you could probably cut these with scissors if you didn't have any wire cutters on you. But you should have wire cutters with you on the bank. But look, pair of scissors. It's gone through that all right. But my advice would be, if you haven't got a pair of wire cutters, get some, because you might need them on the bank, clip through a hook or anything like that. So and that final sleeve goes onto your barrel. And that's how tidy it is at the end. All that's needed now is a couple of bait flags. I like plenty of red on all my rigs. I want the fish to see them. Here's one. And there's 2. That's 2 rigs tied, 10 minutes apiece. That's how quick they are. Good 18 inches. So this is going to be my hair. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop one what I've done, this is going to be my hair, so what I've done is I put one crimp on. I'm just going to go back in that end to form a loop, and that will be my hair. That will go through the fish. These are quite long crimps, these ones, and this is crimping tool only for short crimps, so one long press at the bottom, one long press at the top, and that's on. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to just tie this like you would a carp hair rig. It's a circle hook I'm thinking of using, that way you haven't got to strike into the fish so much. You should just be able to wind down and hook into the fish. I don't even know if this is going to go through the eye, to be honest. I'm just trying it now, ad hoc. If it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. I reckon that's about long enough as a hair. So I'm going to go round once, twice, 3, 4, 5. I go back through the eye of the hook, hopefully it'll fit in. It does. And that's tight. And what I'm going to do, got that hook sleeve there, that is going to go over and there you have. So what I'm thinking of is a chunk of fish is going to go on there, or the fish's head. So all we need now is to tie the barrel, so the barrel swivel. Always, if you're going to use sleeves, sleeve goes on first, followed by the crimp, there's my barrel swivel, £40 barrel swivel. There's my swivel, a £40 barrel swivel. Goes on. Going to double loop it. So back round, form a loop, go back through the eye the opposite way. Tighten it up. Here's the crimp. Yeah, I've got to spend 10 minutes trying to get a crimp on. That's the way it goes, isn't it? Yeah, there we go, slides on nice and easy. Tighten it up. I say these are long crimps, so one long hard squeeze at the bottom, one hard long squeeze at the top. Safe as ours, it's not going anywhere. And we'll just snip that off. Sleeve you pull down afterwards. Look at that. Lovely and tidy. And that is my experimental circle hook air rig. I'm going to be using that during the week. I'm going to try it on my third rod. I hope me waffling on talking about making traces wasn't too boring for you, but I need to make some. There's people out there that only buy their own or are only starting up in the piking game. Maybe it's a bit daunting, but it shouldn't be. They're, you know, they're really quite easy to use. The materials these days are really supple. You know, when they're coated, it's not like using bare wire anymore. They're coated, they're supple. They're just like using any other hook link material. They really are these days. And that's how easy they are to make. So we made 2 pike traces with trebles, double trebles, using these new grips hooks. I hope they, hope they work. If they do, it'd be a game changer for me. At the moment I only use 1 barb on my trebles, and that barb goes into the dead bait to hold that on really. But I'm going to give this a go. Always look to try different things. If you're not learning, you're not going to be catching. You've always got to pick up tips and hints from other people, new ideas. And so it looks alright. And so I've made 2 of them, and the experimental one I'm going to try during the week. What I'm going to try with that on the top of that is a little roach head. If it works, that could be quite a good, useful tool when I go over to the Norfolk drains fishing for zander. Well, you never know. Well, thanks for watching. If you thought that was helpful in any way, or you've got any comments, leave them in the description below, and I'll try and answer every single one. And like and subscribe, and if you did like sort of how to do it, how to tie traces, and you need any other tutorials, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. I might not be very good at them, so maybe some of the audience are. Thank you very much for watching.